Wow. All I can say is wow. It is so great to be here once again and to see and to meet each and every one of you. And you guys are amazing. You guys are amazing. I think you all deserve a round of applause for yourselves. And I understand from Pastor Roger that a large number of you are going to be coming to Har Bracha next week. Yeah. Who's coming? Raise your hand. Wow, unbelievable.
That's only half of us.
That's only half. Wow. And of course, you will be coming to Har Bracha, and please God, I will be able to give you a tour of the community and show you the wonderful people and places in our community of Har Bracha. First of all, let me ask a question. Was anybody here last year when I was here? Raise your hand. Oh, a lot of people, okay. So last year, my son was here also, Joshua, and he, let's see, can we move this? How far can we move this? That's about it. Okay. Okay, it's okay. So last year, I came with my son, Yehoshua, and he was in the army. He's still in the army, but he's a little bit less in the army now. When he was here last year, he had been in Gaza for 3 months. He had been in Lebanon. Maybe at that time he hadn't. But after that, he went into Lebanon for 2 months. And he actually made it to Syria also. Okay? Now, I just want to show you. So that was last year. I really focused on the war side and the defense and everything that was going on at the time. This time, I would like to speak a little bit more about the community itself and the people, the residents of Har Bracha, who you, please God, will see when you get there. So let's just, my remote control is not working, so I'm just going to have to do this manually. So let's see how this works. Okay, so there's my son, Yehoshua. He was bringing in a Sefer Torah into Gaza. Okay, and that was last year. Here he is. A gibor. In Hebrew we say a gibor. He was a brave soldier. Yeah. Here he is meeting the Prime Minister, Bibi Netanyahu, in Gaza. And here, this, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is the picture of the year. This is my son in Syria. They took over a courthouse, one of the Syrian courthouses. This is the father, Assad, the son, Assad. He's on his desk with his feet up and his gun. Now, this picture made it to social media. It was on Facebook and it was and he got death threats from Arabs saying, "How dare you put your feet up on the desk of Assad?" But he was a brave and good soldier, and that's Yehoshua. So in my opinion, I love this picture. This is a tremendous picture. Okay, let's just go on. Okay, this is one of the missiles that was shot over from Iran that landed in Judea and Samaria, and this area is in the Binyamin region, and they took it and they made it into a menorah for Hanukkah. They want to destroy us, they want to kill us, they want to fight. All they want is to destroy Israel, but we turn all of their destruction and all of their death into light. Into light. Now, this is the rabbi and his wife of our community of Har Bracha. He's Rabbi Eliezer Melamed, and his wife is Inbal Melamed. They have, if I'm not mistaken, 12 or 13 children, and I don't even know how many grandchildren. He's the rabbi of our community. He's also the Rosh Yeshiva. He's the head of the yeshiva. Yeshiva is like a university for boys who learn Talmud and who learn Bible studies and Jewish law and Jewish philosophy that he started in our community. And This is our main source of new residents, which is one of the most important things in my humble opinion, because maybe some of you have heard about this crazy idea about a two-state solution. Anybody hear about that? We are preventing with our own bodies a two-state solution, God forbid. That should never happen. That should be, because we are on the top of a mountain. Rabbi Melamed started the yeshiva in 1992, and it has become extremely successful. The boys take on an extra 2 years. Usually an 18-year-old boy goes into the army at 18 and does a 3-year stint. But these boys take on an extra 2 years, and they learn 1 year in the yeshiva, 1 year in the army, 1 year in the yeshiva, 1 year in the army, back and forth. And they're known to be the best soldiers in Israel. They're in the elite combat units. Why? Because they know what they're fighting for. They learn, that's what they're learning in the yeshiva, is what the importance of the land of Israel and defending the land of Israel and the holiness of the Jewish nation. And that's why our rabbi is such a great Torah scholar that he started this yeshiva, and it's become extremely, extremely successful. And his wife, she takes care of all of the social activities and all of the children, and gives classes for the women, and they are a tremendous spiritual force for us. This is, I put up on my Facebook. This, you can't really see it all. It says two-state solution. It equals the destruction of Israel, God forbid. Because this is Judea and Samaria, this area here, and this is where we are located, in Shechem, which the Arabs call Nablus. And from here, we see the entire coastal plain of Israel on the palm of our hand, from Ashkelon in the south, all the way up to Haifa in the north, and Hadera. And God forbid, if there was ever an ISIS, Hamas, PLO state in the center of the country, the entire coastal plain where the majority of people live, millions of people, would be in danger. Ben Gurion Airport also, because we know what happened when the Jews were thrown out of Gaza. Look what we got. Death and destruction, Hamas, and the war. So we are trying our best to do what is possible. I went to the Shomronim, the Samaritans, who live close to us. They live on the edge of Mount Gerizim. And I took a picture. This is the city of Shechem. This is what the Arabs call Nablus. Okay, this is the city of Shechem. I think there's probably about 150,000 Arabs living there, and it's a hotbed for Arab terrorism. And thank God we're up on the top of the mountain, so we're about 890 meters above sea level, so we look down on them. So we're keeping them in check all the time, okay? And if anybody would like to, my dream is to set up a what do they call it, a golf range, and just hit golf balls down into a driving range, right? Just hit golf balls down into Shechem, and okay. So anybody's interested in that? This is some of the building that's going on. We have a lot of construction going on now, thank God. After the massacre of Simchat Torah, we had to stop using Arab labor. They had been building before. We had to stop using them because of the situation. And we brought in some foreign workers from India, Nepal, Nigeria, China to replace the Arabs. Unfortunately, the government hasn't produced enough and brought into the country enough of these foreign workers. And unfortunately, there are not many Jewish laborers, enough to build buildings like this. If we just use Jewish labor, we could maybe build about 20 houses a year. And like I've said before, and I'll say it again, this is one of the greatest things that I have to teach. Our wise and holy sages taught us that there are 613 commandments in the Bible. They said if you took 612 and put them on one side of a scale, and you took one commandment and put it on the other side of the scales would be even, okay? Here we're talking about thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, adultery, worship, idol, the big ones, the heavy ones, right? What's that one commandment? Settling the land of Israel. Settling the land of Israel is equal to all the commandment, the mitzvah of settling the land of Israel is equal to all of the other commandments in the Torah. That's why it is so important. I've dedicated my entire life to build up Har Bracha, our community, we are on the front line of settlement in Shomron and Samaria. And our rabbis also teach us that there are different levels of the mitzvah, of the commandment of settling the land. Everybody who lives in the land of Israel is obviously fulfilling the commandment. But if you live in an area where there are less Jews and more non-Jews, Arabs, then the commandment is on a higher level. So we're on the highest level of the commandment of settling the land of Israel. This is the yeshiva. This is where I will be taking you, all you guys who come. The first place I take everybody is to the yeshiva. This is the nucleus. This is like the nuclear plant. I don't know how to say it, but this is the center of our community. This is where the boys are learning Torah day and night, and they give us the spiritual power to continue building and growing. And after the 5-year program where they are finished learning in the yeshiva, a large amount of them remain in the community, get married, build their homes in Har Bracha, and that's our best source of new families, which is the most important thing, because altogether we're probably about 500 families now. When I moved there with my wife many years ago, we were the 13th family. There was absolutely nothing there, nothing. Just 2 rows of like mobile homes, caravans, and a path in between. Nothing else, nothing else. And on Shabbat, on Sabbath, obviously we can't drive. So people would just walk up and down the path and say hello to your neighbor, and then you'd see him again. Oh, hi, how are you? Nice. Because you couldn't go anywhere else. That was it, on this path. So when in the very beginning, when the community was looking for a rabbi, I invited Rabbi Melamed to come, and I had been learning with him in Beit El, which is a community about half an hour south of us. His father was the chief rabbi of Beit El, and he had taken under his wings a group of English-speaking students. I was amongst them, 10 guys, and he would teach us Jewish law and philosophy, and he was a very special man. You could, even at the very age, he was maybe 20 years old at the time, he would take out his guitar in the evening, and he wrote songs about animals, and he was a great guy. When we came to Har Bracha, I said, well, we need a rabbi for the community. So we invited him up, and on the Sabbath, we were walking on this path, and he stopped in the middle, and he said to me, Yonaton, I feel like I can make a lot of chidushim in this place. Now, a chidush for a rabbi is like an innovation, an insight. Usually a rabbi, an insight into the Bible or an insight into the Gemara, the Talmud or something like. What Rabbi Melamed was talking about, his insight was something much, much greater than just an insight into a specific verse. He's built this yeshiva. He's put out a series of books that have become extremely popular in Israel called Penei Halacha. It's all about Jewish law and philosophy. We've printed 1,500,000 of his books. He is the bestseller in Israel. You'll never hear of that in the media. A best Israeli seller sells about 20,000 books a year, and he's considered a bestseller. Okay, Rabbi Melamed has sold over 1,500,000 copies. They're being translated into English, French, Spanish, Russian. They're all on the internet. You can go into our website of Yeshiva Har Bracha. All his books are there. Not all of them have been translated. In English, I think we have probably about 10 out of 25. It's a very long process to translate them, and it costs a lot of money, but we're working in that direction. But anybody who wants to go and read some of his books, you can see. The first thing I take the people into the yeshiva is this board. This board is the name of all of the people who give their tithes to the yeshiva. Now, these are all people, young couples. These are guys who are, in their young 30s or 40s or something like that. They're not like IBM executives or something, or people who've been, but nevertheless, they are so connected to the community and to the rabbi and to the yeshiva that they all give their tithe, if not more, to the yeshiva. And that's exactly what gives us the ability to continue building and growing. And here's Rabbi Melamed teaching in the yeshiva. This is the yeshiva itself, the learning hall. This was on Israel Independence Day. You see the flags and everything. All of the students serve in the army, of course, and all of the rabbis who teach there are also in the army. This is the dancing. There's a lot of, like you guys singing and dancing, and there's a lot of spirit, what we call in Hebrew, ruach. A lot of ruach, a lot of spirit in the yeshiva, this is the Torah library. Here you really can't see it, but on the sides here are all the books and everything. It was donated by the Moskowitz family, who are in Miami Beach. Very nice, very big donators to our yeshiva for 20 some odd years. This is in the dining room. This is also a board showing all of the students who are presently in the Army and all of the different divisions in the Army, and the paratroopers and the tanks and whatever, and all of their pictures. And like I said, these guys receive awards for being the best soldiers in the IDF. They're really very, very idealistic. This is some of our yeshiva guys in Gaza with the tanks. Here they are in Gaza, once again, you see the Mediterranean over there, all of the houses that they destroyed. And these are two of our students who received outstanding awards in their units. This is a boy who made Aliyah with his family from Argentina. He unfortunately was killed in the war in Gaza. Ilan Cohen, may God avenge his blood. He was one of our students, and he had come to learn in our yeshiva. His parents are from Argentina, and they were still in Argentina, and he was alone in the army in Israel, and his parents came for the funeral, and it was a very, very sad occasion. But we're very proud of him. He fought like a lion. This is the dining room for the yeshiva, the dining room and the kitchen, and above it, we had to build, there's so many people and so many children and so many new residents coming in, we constantly have to build more and more synagogues. And in Judaism, there's 10 different, types of ways to pray, or there's a Moroccan, there's Ashkenazi, there's Sephardi, there's Yemenite, so this is a Yemenite. They built a Yemenite synagogue on top of the dining room and the kitchen. This is outside of the Yemenite synagogue. This is another synagogue. This is the Moroccan synagogue, which is right next to the yeshiva. Rabbi Melamed likes everybody to pray with his father's tradition. So on Friday night, the entire community comes together and we pray together. But on Sabbath morning, everybody goes to wherever his father's tradition is, whether it was Moroccan or Yemenite, Ashkenazi. This is another one of the buildings we have to constantly build. Every couple of months we have to build a new kindergarten, because that is our number one industry in Har Bracha, is having babies. A lot of children, constantly. We need daycare centers, so we're constantly building. This is some of the children. This is the girls' youth movement. They're having a party there. This is the children in the kindergarten. This is an evening for the women of Har Bracha. You can see everybody, all the women wear their mitpachat, their head covering and whatnot, and they're tremendous women. And a lot of these women, their husbands went off into the army in reserve, and they had to take care of the families. They had to take care of the kids, and a lot of the praise goes to these women, because the guys were fighting on the front lines like lions, but the women also were on the, in the, what do they call it, in the background? Home front, thank you. Yeah, they were on the home front, taking care of the kids and keeping the families together, and a lot of, this is our water supply. This is the old one. Har Bracha became so big and so many people started coming that we on Sabbath, when everybody takes a shower before the Sabbath, there wasn't enough water, and the water pressure was very low. So we needed to build this new water tank, a nice big gigantic water tank, and get rid of the old ones. And our holy and wise sages say, Ein mayim ela Torah. There's no thing such as water except for the Torah. The Torah is likened to water because it spreads out to everywhere evenly, and so water is very spiritual and also very physical water. Let's go back. We missed one. This is just a compilation. This is some of the building going on. This is one of the kindergartens. Here you see some of the foreign workers from China, if not mistaken. This is another kindergarten area, and this is some of the construction going on here. Some more of the housing construction going on. We're trying to build as quick as we possibly can. We're trying to get as many new families as we can, because if you heard about Ariel Sharon and Gush Katif in Gaza, you heard about that. You know how many people there were in Gush Katif that were expelled? There were 10,000. There were 10,000, and that's basically in our area of the Shomron. We're 5 communities. We're Tapuach, Yitzhar, Har Bracha, Itamar, and Elan Moreh. And all together, we're about 10,000 people. And we are right in the center. We are sitting like a bone in the throat of a 2-state solution. But God forbid, if there ever was something like that, we would be the first ones out, because we're only about 10,000 people, just like Gush Katif. So our goal is to reach 1,000 families. Right now we're about 500 families. We hope and please God in the next 5 years we will double our occupancy or population, excuse me, I forgot my English, and we'll reach 1,000, and then there's no question of being expelled, because we're very close to the city of Ariel also. Ariel is a city about 15-minute drive away from Har Bracha, and they have 25,000 residents, and they have a university, and they have all the services possible, and nobody in their right mind would think of expelling 25,000 people. It's just impossible. But 500 families, it's not, not so difficult. So one of our main chief goals is to try and get as many new families as possible, and to build and to build and to have as many babies as possible. This is just one of the apartment buildings. We were one of the first places in the Shomron that had to have an elevator company come and put an elevator into a building. Everybody would build just regular houses on the ground, but we started building because, unfortunately, there were some presidents who put freezes on Jewish settlement, Jewish building construction in Judea and Samaria. So our rabbi said, well, if they're not going to allow us to build on the ground, we're going for the skies. So we started building 6, 7-story apartment buildings, and this was like one of the first buildings that needed an elevator. This is just some of the beautiful fruits that are growing. Our holy and wise sages also teach us that one of the clearest signs of the redemption is when the land of Israel gives off its fruit, the trees give off its fruit with an ayin tovah, with a good eye, fruitfully and bountifully. This is the redemption. Is this unbelievable? I mean, we're in the footsteps of the redemption, of the coming of the Mashiach. We have a guest house. Anybody who wants to come and stay for a Shabbat, or people who want to have a family celebration for a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah or a wedding, they can bring their families, and we have places for them and very nice accommodations. This is a very interesting story. The owner of this car would not allow me to take a picture of him. He said, I've been here for I don't know how many years, and I've never had anybody take my picture. It's not on any social media, and I don't want it to be. And I snook a picture, and he made me erase it. His name is Avi Nitzan. He was one of the first residents of our community. He's a plumber. He lives right up the street from me. When Har Bracha started, he was one of the first people. And what happened was, in the beginning, the community asked neighboring communities like Kidumim, where you'll be also, and Ilan Moreh, which were more established communities, to send over families for a year to volunteer to try and get Har Bracha off the ground. So people came, and those caravans were full, 30 houses, and with that path in the middle. After that year was over and each family went back to their original homes, there was only one family left, and that was Avi Nitzan. And he says he wished and he prayed that nobody else would come. He loved being on the mountain by himself. But thank God, God didn't hear his prayers. But he's a very, very special man, and he does plumbing for everybody in the community, and he's just a great guy. So I just wanted to... This is David and Leah Ziv. Leah, her husband was murdered on Har Bracha many years ago. He was one of the first Jews murdered in the first Intifada. She was pregnant with her 5th child at the time. She gave birth. That's Yaakov Parag, that was her husband, who was murdered. She remarried at David. He's a Ger Tzedek. He's a convert to Judaism. He's from Switzerland. They got married, and they remained on Har Bracha, and they had 5 more children of their own. And they're my next-door neighbors. He's a bus driver, and Leah's very active in all of the social activities for the women. This is Erez Shmulian. Erez Shmulian has a very interesting story. He was a paratrooper, and on one of his jumps, the cord from his parachute got caught on his hand, and his hand got chopped off. And when they landed, his commanders had all of the soldiers to search for his hand, and they found it. They rushed it to the hospital in ice and whatever, and they reattached his hand. Yeah, unbelievable story. Unbelievable story. And now he's one of the rabbis in the yeshiva. So this is he sits in the next office to me. His name is Gili Bismuth. Gili Bismuth, he's a very high-ranking soldier in the army. He takes care of he's also a member of the Magin David Adom, the ambulance. Okay, his daughter gave birth. He was an ambulance driver, and they didn't make it to the hospital, and he had to give birth. He's an aloof also in the army, and he's just a really great guy. This guy's got a great name. Yoni HaYisraeli. Yoni the Israeli. That's his name. That's his real name. And Batsheva, his wife. They're my next door neighbors. Yoni is one of the first graduates of the yeshiva. He was one of the first group of guys, and he remained in the community. He was the head of security for the entire Shomron area originally, and then he moved on to start his own, not a construction company, but he starts business opportunities. He's an entrepreneur, and he also takes care of all of the building that's going on in Har Bracha. He does on a voluntary basis. He doesn't get any money for that. And he's also the head of a group that we started. We're members of the Likud party, Benjamin Netanyahu's party. We are members of the Central Committee, which is a smaller group. There are about 150,000 people who are in the Likud party. There are 3,000 people who are in the Central Committee. We're the ones who set policy. We're the ones who, when there's primaries, all of the ministers come running to us for our vote because we vote as a group, we vote as a block. We're 10,000 people who the only care we have is to make sure that the Likud party never gives any part of the land of Israel to anybody because it's all ours, and also that they continue building in Judea and Samaria. So we started this group. Yoni is the head of it. It's called Ha-Likud Shali, My Likud. And he just got married off one of his daughters, and all of the ministers came to the wedding. Yisrael Katz, who is now the new Minister of Defense, and they were all dancing together. We're very, very close to them. We have a lot of influence within the Likud party. This is the Yaniv family. I don't know if you heard it, but about maybe a little bit over a year ago, Shalom and Esti Yaniv, these two of their sons, Hallel and I forgot what his other's name, they were murdered by Arab terrorists. We used to have to go through an Arab village called Huwara, and if you wanted to get to Tel Aviv or to Jerusalem, and the Arabs parked their cars on the side of the roads and all of the stores, and you would sit in a traffic jam for maybe a half an hour in the middle of an Arab village, and you were sitting like a sitting duck. And unfortunately, these boys were going to learn in their yeshiva, and they were murdered by an Arab terrorist. And they were two of our greatest youth. They were the heads of all of the youth movement, and it's a terrible tragedy, and we really miss them terribly. My wife actually is a hydrotherapist. We have a hydrotherapy pool where she does therapy in water in our community, and she's taking care of the daughter and the mother because they need a lot of help after going through such a tragedy.
Did they change the roads so that you're not sitting ducks?
Yes. We built a new bypass road, 4-lane, beautiful. It's like a highway. It's really a beautiful road. Now, to get to Har Bracha, instead of it could have taken up 45 minutes from the Tapuach Junction to Har Bracha. Now it's about 6 or 7 minutes. Yeah. So, and thank God this is Mayor Beta Levi and his wife. He's our meteorologist. He tells us when it's going to rain or when it's going to snow. We do get snow in Har Bracha. We're really high up, and in the winter we do get snow occasionally. So he's got a WhatsApp group, and he sends out messages about how the weather's going to be on Shabbat, and just everybody knows exactly what's going to be. This is Elad. He's a mohel. He's a, how do you call a mohel? A circumciser. Yes, he's a circumciser. Forgot my English. He's actually here. This is doing a circumcision, a brit milah. Rabbi Melamed was reading the blessings. He's our, and there are a lot of, like I said, there are a lot of babies being born, so we need somebody in home. Yeah. Oh. This is Yossi Khalaf. You don't really see, but he's inside a guard booth. He guards outside of the girls' school to make sure that none of the Arab terrorists should, God forbid, break in. But he's also learning Talmud at the same time. He's making sure that everything's going well, but he's a big Talmud Torah scholar also. This is Yossi. He made Aliyah with his parents from Peru. He converted to Judaism. His parents came to, they made Aliyah from Peru, and he's one of my good friends, Yossi. This is a very interesting family. This is the Bushari family. The Bushari family, the mother, Ruth, is from China. She converted also to Judaism. And this is all of her children and grandchildren, and one of the older families on our community, the Bushari family. Her husband, who passed away about 2 years ago, he was a Yemenite from Yemen. She was from China. So you can see their children are beautiful. Their complexion is beautiful, and their eyes are beautiful, like Chinese, and also just a mixture of Yemenite and Chinese. Very cute. Nir Levi. Does anybody know Nir Levi? Anybody who's been to Har Bracha? Nir Levi started the vineyard in Har Bracha. This is bottles of one of his Har Bracha wines. They've won international awards. The grapes are obviously grown on Har Bracha. Very, very good wine, tasty wine, holy grapes growing on the mountain of blessing. Har means mountain, bracha means blessing. Har Bracha, the mountain of blessing. What more could you ask for? So that's Nir Levi, my next door neighbor. This is Rabbi Yonaton Behar, very, very interesting, and his wife, E.T. Rabbi Yonaton Behar, his father is Moshe Zar, who bought up a lot of land in the Shomron from the Arabs. He's very well known. Her father is Rabbi Moshe Levinger, who started Hebron. He was the one who started Rabbi Waldman, right, and Rabbi Levinger together, they rented a hotel. They went in for Passover. They went into Hebron, and they rented from Arabs a hotel. And they said, we're coming just for the Passover. Well, they never left. They never left. And they were the ones who started the city of Hebron. And this is their family, part of their family. And this was one of his sons was just went into the army, or just went into the army recently. And he's a teacher in the yeshiva, and great guy. This is also one of our Elchanan, one of our residents. He's also in the army in Gaza. He was here in Gaza. He's a medic, but he's also a nurse in one of the hospitals in Tel Aviv. So if we ever need any medical assistance, we go to Elchanan. This is Shai Yosef. He's from Ethiopia. His parents made Aliyah from Ethiopia, and his wife and his children. I also have, by the way, one of my son-in-laws is also from Ethiopia, and beautiful children, beautiful children. The mixture of the dark skin and the white skin, it's just a beautiful mixture. This is, this man is the head of what we call sorry, I forgot my English. He's the head of where all of Rabbi Melamad's books are stored, okay? This is like the warehouse of the pearls. We call it the pearls and the diamonds.
A book repository.
A book repository, right. And he makes sure that all of the books get out to the entire world. We're sending books constantly to all over the world. This is the storehouse with all of the books. Like I said, we printed over 1,500,000, so there's a lot of books too. This is an interesting group called Hayovel. If anybody heard about them, you'll meet them again also, I'm sure, when you're there. Tommy Waller, originally from Tennessee, started a group called Hayovel. This was about 20 years ago. He came to Har Bracha. He didn't know where he was. And he found me, and he found Nir Levi, and he had a Bible, and we showed him the verses about eventually the Jews are returning to the land of Israel, and the vineyards, and the wine, and he said, wow, this is for me. He had like a very heavy Tennessee accent. We have an interesting story. We call ourselves old war buddies, because one night, we were coming home, my wife and myself in our car, and the army stopped us at the junction down below Har Bracha, and there was supposedly a terrorist, an Arab terrorist who was caught coming out of Shechem, out of Nablus, with a backpack with bombs. So the army stopped all of the cars, so all of the Arabs were on one side of the road, all the Jews were on the other side of the road. All of a sudden, I roll down my window and I hear somebody talking in English, but like a really strange English, Southern English, and I'm from New York, so I didn't. So I went up to him and I said, who are you? What are you doing here? He said, who are you? Where? I said, I don't know. He said, I don't know what I'm doing. I said, I live here. What are you? He said, we just came to visit, and we didn't know what was going on. Then all of a sudden we heard a big boom, and the army detonated the bomb. God forbid, had that terrorist been able to get into the community or into Tel Aviv or anything, it could have caused a tremendous amount of damage and death. But from then on, we've become very close friends. They have their sons have now taken over the family business. They have a program called the Israel Guys. If anybody goes onto YouTube and sees the Israel Guys, great, they do great stuff. No, Ari and Jeremy come and speak, yes, once a week, right. But the sons of Tommy, they're the Israel Guys. So this is they're really they work in all the vineyards throughout Judea and Samaria. They're also in the Golan Heights. They bring volunteers from all over the world every summer to do the harvesting, and in the winter they bring in groups to do pruning. And when they go back to the States, Tennessee and wherever they're from, they're very in good contact with all of their senators and congressmen, and they're constantly advocating for Judea and Samaria and Har Bracha, and they're very, very good friends of ours. This is a group that came from Japan, and I was in the sukkah, and I was speaking to them and giving them a tour. We have guests constantly. This is the high priest of the Shomronim, of the Samaritans, our next door neighbors. So they come to get medical assistance in our Kupat Cholim, in our medical center. So this is my wife and one of my grandsons in the pool, in the hydrotherapy pool that I told you about across the street from us. Jackie, I wouldn't be here without her. She's originally from Toronto. This is part of our family. This is not all of them. This is David and my oldest daughter, Yael, Michal, Ateret, my wife. This is my son's wedding, Yehoshua, who was here last year. He's married to this beautiful Yemenite woman, and all of my other children and some of my grandchildren. And, oh, okay. That's what I was talking about. That's my daughter, Ora, and her husband, Itzik, from Ethiopia, and their daughter, Ella, when she was young. And that's one of my grandsons. This was at Yitzhak's wedding. Again, some of my grandchildren. And this is a view from Har Bracha. And this is what we see. We see the entire coastal plain. This is like Tel Aviv area, Gush Dan. This is where the majority of Jews live. Millions. And God forbid, if there was, like I said, if there was ever a Palestinian PLO, ISIS, Hamas state in Har Bracha, in the center of the Shomron, we see the electric plant in Hadera. Okay, this is up north. Okay, we have a tremendous view, like I said, from Ashkelon in the south, all the way up to Hadera and Haifa in the north. This is the power plant that gives the majority of power to electric power to the state of Israel. God forbid, missiles. We see the Mediterranean. This is the Mediterranean down here. We can see boats on the Mediterranean from Har Bracha. And this is just a little video that I'd like you to see that we put out. I was speaking about a book that Rabbi Malamu, we just translated recently into English, called The Jewish Tradition. It's about this is like the Torah on one foot, okay? It's the entire Torah, basically, about the Sabbath, the festivals, about parents and children, mourning, kashrut, prayer, you name it, everything. And we, like I said, we translated it into English. It's in Spanish and French and Russian. And this is a video that we put out. So how do we get the... Do I just press something or...
Go ahead and start it, but we need to get it online. So I'll bring you a microphone to put up to the speakers.
Oh, okay. So let's go back. Maybe I can just start it here. Let's see, where's the start button? Oh, there's no voice? Okay, hold on. What? Yeah, it's bringing the mic. Okay, so let's start it again. Start it over.
As you know, Israel has failed to act
Oh, shoot. Okay, wait, hold
on
it.
recent resolutions. Continues to fail.
Gotta get out for a minute.
What's the one with the woman?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna get the...
You need a teenager.
That's what he's got.
Compared to you.
Maybe we can just hold the mic to the...
Yeah.
Is that a possibility?
Let's get this.
that sound?
Before you vote to condemn the state of Israel, there is one more delegate who has requested to speak.
Thank you, President. As you know, Israel has failed to act in accordance with our recent resolutions and continues to fail to act in accordance with the political and ethical standards of the rest of the world. I bring to the attention of the Assembly, this has been going on for a very long time.
You can hear it. They hear it.
In fact, it is the ancient name of their people, Ha'ivrim, the people from the other side. From the very beginning, they have been different. Their forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, walked a different path than the rest of the world, unwilling to take part in the ancient culture of idolatry and child sacrifice. They taught instead of one God who loves life and wants us to make the world a better place. And after generations of their fostering this light in the darkness of the ancient world, as their tradition states, God revealed himself to them and gave them a code of divine principles that would solidify this nation's path and become the basis of all the major Western religions and modern ethical thinking. As John Adams, the second president of the United States, describes, the Hebrews have given religion to 3/4 of the globe and have influenced the affairs of mankind more than any other nation. As time goes on, the influence of these Ivreim, this different people, remains the foundation upon which the Western world stands. Is it not the name of the Hebrew God that is both written on the US dollar and was sent in the first message across the telegraph line? As author Paul Davies writes, to the Jews we owe the idea of equality before the law, of the sanctity of life and the dignity of the human person, of social responsibility, of peace as an abstract ideal, and love as the foundation of justice, and many other items, which constitute the basic moral furniture of the human mind. With this legacy of contribution to the human spirit, it's not surprising that 1 of every 5 Nobel laureates are of Jewish descent. And it is through this legacy that the Jews have survived the thousands of years they have been living in diaspora from their land, engaged generation after generation with the unrelenting dedication to the arduous study and meticulous performance of the code of laws and principles passed down from their forefathers. What we call in English simply the Bible. And after 20 centuries, having survived the attempts in every generation to destroy them, to rid the world of this people of the book, this moral compass of mankind, in an act that defies every historical precedent, they have reestablished their nation, fulfilling the biblical prophecy of their return. And this reborn Jewish state continues down its visionary path with their youth, forming the largest community of learners of their divine tradition than ever before in their history,
Serving the most ethical army in the world.
and innovating in their high-tech sector that is being called the next Silicon Valley, developing world-changing technological advancements in science, computing, medicine, agriculture, and transportation, being a light to all of us. Thank you. Discover the Jewish tradition.
This is what needs to be said in the UN. This is the message that we need to give the world. So let's see. Go back. I think that was. So I just want to thank each one of you for coming and showing your love and your support for our community of Har Bracha. This is a drone picture of our community, of our 500 families, and I'm waiting and hoping to see you all in Israel soon. And I will give you a royal tour, please God, of our community, and I'm sure you'll love and you'll fall in love with our community. It's a tremendous, wonderful community of Har Bracha. Thank you for coming, and God bless you all.